breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beeson Family Podcast, a podcast that is today presented to you by DraftKings and Vote Yes on Prop 27. Prop 27 doing what it can to get Californians online and able to bet online because, well, over half the country is able to. Cities like the great one in New York, Boston, Massachusetts, Portland, list goes on and on, Chicago. But bet online there right now. Californians, they're stuck with shady bookies. They're stuck out there in the cold. Prop 27 gets them online, and we are up and running online with a great podcast today because Charlie Disturco, he does great work over at Action Network. He's going to be joining me in segment number 2. We are doing this before we know the exact outcome of the game between the Dodgers and the Padres, since that got a little bit of a late start, and we were doing it during extra innings of the Mariners and the Astros game. We certainly did not expect that to go 18 innings, so we thought there was going to be an outcome when we did the conversation, but there was unfortunately not one. But that said, we're going to be going through just how the Phillies have been able to make the run that they have been able to, what some of the takeaways from that are, what we can expect from the Yankees versus Guardians game today as well. So we're going to be chatting about that in segment number 2, and then in the final segment, going to give you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Sunday as we touch them all. If you ever have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at @Janet_81. Keep in mind, letters EM. Naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way, that is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated, and then from there, you are able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Really did not get in any Twitter questions today, but we had a very interesting and marathon-like day of baseball on Saturday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
First one of my last 6 in the DK Nation picks that went down, but it was the Phillies getting the job done 8-3 against the Atlanta Braves. As for the Braves, Charlie Morton, just not what the team was hoping for. He was only able to deliver 2 innings. He gave up 3 runs along the way. As for the Phillies, they were able to get to him for a home run. Going deep off of him was Brandon Marsh, his first of the postseason, but then you had JT Realmuto have a home run off of Colin McHugh, and then Bryce Harper. It's been incredible to watch him. From September 1st until the end of the regular season, so about 34 to 35 days in total, he was hitting a .196 with 3 home runs. He has 3 home runs thus far in the postseason and is hitting a .500. He goes deep off of the one and only Kenley Jansen. Jansen allows a run in an inning. McHugh, he just allowed that solo home run over the course of 2 innings. AJ Minter gives up 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Raisel Iglesias just could not get out of the 6th inning, which costed us the under. He gives up 1 run in 1/3 of an inning, but allowed the inherited runners to run in as well. And Dylan Lee, a scoreless inning. And for the Braves, all their runs came off of solo home runs, as it was Noah Thor Syndergaard who was able to deliver 3 innings, giving up a home run to Orlando Arcia along the way. And then you did have Andrew Bellotti give up a home run to Matt Olson. For Mr. Bellotti, he gives up that solo home run in an inning, and then the other home run given up by Jose Alvarado as he went 1 2/3 innings, cranking out that deep shot. Travis d'Arnaud, he did all that he could for the team, but for Brian Andy, scoreless inning. Zach Eflin, Sir Anthony Dominguez, they both deliver a scoreless inning as the Atlanta Braves just 4 hits in this one. 3 of them did fly over the fence, but the Phillies, they were able to do a much better job of moving the line. Nobody was moving the line in this game. 18 innings later, the Astros eliminate the Seattle Mariners from the postseason, 1-0 the final. Both starting pitchers were superb. Lance McCullers Jr., 6 scoreless innings. George Kirby, 7 scoreless innings. Kirby did allow 6 hits, but no walks in this one. I mean, 1 walk from the Seattle Mariners in 18 innings is actually rather remarkable, and I think that the lone walk might have been an intentional walk. I would need to double check on that from Matthew Boyd, but man, that was amazing as Boyd gives up that lone walk in 1/3 of an inning. He didn't allow anything. The lone run of the game came off of Penn Murphy. He was pitching super long relief, giving up a solo run to Jeremy Pena in 2 innings. Robbie Ray got a pair of outs out of the bullpen, and Matthew Festa, 2 scoreless innings. Paul Sewell, 2 scoreless innings. Diego Castillo out of the bullpen. Eric Swanson, a scoreless innings. Andres Munoz, a scoreless inning as well. And for the Houston Astros, after McCullers came in and did his part. Luis Garcia pretty much gave a start B for this team. I mean, he went 5 scoreless innings, so that could qualify the start for a lot of guys. Hunter Brown, 2 scoreless innings. Ryan Stanek, Brian Abreu, Ryan Presley, Rafael Montero, Hector Neris, all scoreless inning. Certainly throws off Luis Garcia if they wanted him to start in the next series, but getting that extra rest, that bullpen is going to be up and firing on all cylinders. And speaking of firing on all cylinders, the Cleveland Guardians get the job done 6-5 against the New York Yankees as Oscar Gonzalez in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs. RBI single to be able to get that in as Luis Severino gives up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings for the Cleveland Guardians. No home runs, but they go 9 of 17 with men in scoring position. This was not Tristan McKenzie's night. He gives up 4 runs in 5 innings, including a pair of ding-dongs as Aaron Judge. They pulled him out of the leadoff spot, and shock, surprise, surprise, he gives a home run, his first of the postseason. Then you had Oswaldo Cabrera go deep off of McKenzie as well. Harrison Bader later on in the game gets his second home run of this series as he goes deep off of Sam Hentages. He allowed that solo home run in 1 2/3 innings, but Daniel De Los Santos, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Eli Morgan, a scoreless inning in for the New York Yankees after Severino did not go well for the team. Wandy Peralta gives up 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Lou Trevino, Jonathan Loaizaga, they combined to get 3 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, but Clark Schmidt could not keep Oscar Gonzalez at bay. The Guardians are now 1 game away from knocking off the mighty New York Yankees. And speaking of mighty, the mighty Dodgers, their season is done. 111 wins gets you a departure in the National League Divisional Series. I am doing this just as the Padres are wrapping up this victory after they pulled off a 5-run 7th inning in order to be able to get the job done. If you're hearing this, you know that it went final because I have to record this by midnight Pacific time, so I have to do this a little bit ahead of time. But with that said, Tyler Anderson did his part for the LA Dodgers. He goes 5 scoreless innings. Chris Martin is scoreless inning, and then things became unhinged. Timmy Kahnle gives up 3 runs without getting it out. Yancy Almonte gives up a pair of runs in 2/3 of an inning, and then Alex Vesia had to try to close out that 7th inning. And for the San Diego Padres, Joe Musgrove gives up 2 runs in 6 innings, and Steven Wilson, he did allow a run as it was a little bit of a hairy 7th inning for the San Diego Padres themselves, but Tim Mill was able to get out of that, and then Robert Suarez, he comes in the 8th inning before the Padres are able to close that out. And if you're taking a look at what we're getting in baseball as a whole here in the postseason, underdogs, they are now 14-9 as they have been white hot. So if you've been taking a look at these underdogs, and I believe that there are 2 favorites that have won by 1 run. So underdogs, I think against the spread, are now 16-7 if you're getting the run and a half. They have been tremendous. Home teams overall, they are 13-10 here in the postseason. And well, the unders, they've been having a little bit of a rough time of it as you've had 11 unders and 12 unders. So you've actually had 1 more over than under. And that's what we're seeing in Major League Baseball right now. And that's what we got on Saturday. Now coming up next, we're going to be talking to Charlie Disturco. He does amazing work over at Action Network. We're going to be discussing how the Phillies have gotten this far, what we can expect out of Guardians versus Yankees on Sunday, and so much more right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast, and it is great to be joined by our guest as Charlie Disturco does absolutely amazing work over there at Action Network, taking a look at the great game of baseball. And I know that he makes some contributions when it comes to all their football coverage as well. I know that he's been doing a great job taking a look at so many different fronts over there at Action Network. He's a 5-tool player for them and able to be followed on Twitter by his name, Charlie Disturco. Last name is spelled Disturco. And Charlie, it is great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I love talking baseball with you always.
I do as well. And as we are doing this podcast, we are not sure if the Phillies are going to have their NLCS opponent quite yet. Dodgers versus Padres got off to a little bit of a later start, so we are unsure on that front. But when it comes to Philadelphia Phillies, what have you made out of this run? Because coming into the postseason, I felt like if the Phillies were able to get by St. Louis, they actually had a little bit of potential. I was just a little bit suspect on this Phillies bullpen in general, but with the Philadelphia Phillies, they get by. And right now, out of all the teams that we have been seeing playing here in the postseason, it honestly looks like they got the best offense out of all of them.
They look fantastic. thus far. I mean, this is incredible stuff that we're watching. I actually was on them to win against St. Louis, to sweep St. Louis. Game 1, money line, first 5. Game 2, the same thing. So I've been on the Phillies bandwagon this postseason, holding a 45 and a 40-1 ticket on them. So fingers crossed there. I mean, there's just a lot to love about this Phillies team, right? Postseason baseball is all about following teams and backing them when they click offensively. And we've seen for most teams, offense has kind of gone absent. Mets, they went absent. The Braves is going absent. The Mariners, the Astros, the Yankees, the list goes on and on. The offense really isn't clicking except for Philly. And so if they're able to put up points on the board with as good of a 1-2 punch as they have in Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, I mean, as long as they can pitch deep into games, which they've proven the ability to, they should be able to mitigate damage with the bullpen. Obviously, we didn't expect this type of outpour from the Phillies bullpen, especially in games 2 and 3. But I think that this is one of those things that the Phillies are legit. I think everyone has to take them as legit. And I think that it's finally showing that this offense is clicking at the right time. Bryce Harper's back in the middle of the lineup and everyone's playing great. And they have the pitching to really compete as far as starters go. The only question mark was bullpen. And we've seen the management of that turn out amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I think that this is a legit team, and I think that if you're not on board with them, you wouldn't be that far of an outcry to back them to win the next series against whether they get San Diego or LA.
And what I think is going to be really interesting as well to take a look at with Philadelphia Phillies is how much do they utilize the blueprint of the Washington Nationals from 2019? Because for the Phillies, they've got 2 really, really good starters that you're able to rely upon, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. From there, no question about it, it is quite a bit of a fall-off when it comes to things like Game 3, Game 4, where you could be able to utilize there because, well, I think you'd be in agreement with me. You probably don't want to be seeing Kyle Gibson at all. Ranger Suarez is year 3 at this point. But with that said, I do think that for the Philadelphia Phillies, if they have a chance to be able to get it done, I do think that they need to sort of find what was that Patrick Corbin guy a few years ago for the Washington Nationals, whether that be someone like perhaps a Bailey Falter or elsewhere, because I think that that is what they're ultimately going to need if they're going to be able to take down this World Series title.
Yeah, I think that they do have to do something like that, but I think that what Rob Thompson's been doing with his blueprint of Noah Syndergaard one time through the order, then the bullpen in a must-win game, but when you think about how game 3 and 4 will go, you're going to use Ranger Suarez for ideally 5 innings, 6 innings, and then you can use your big bullpen arms. If he has to get out early, then maybe you turn to, as you mentioned, a Bailey Falter, or, well, we don't want Kyle Gibson, but you could go with him too. But I think Rob Thompson, what he's done is that he's not leaving his starters out for too long. He's going to his arms that he trusts. Obviously, in a 5-game series, it's completely different than a 7-game series because you don't need to throw out Gibson, Syndergaard for more than 3 innings. Everyone on Bailey Falter, you don't have to rely on for 5 innings. In a 7-game series, you may have to do that. But that's where I think Rob Thompson, he's amazing. He's a veteran that has been around and been in baseball for, I mean, so long. And he's doing a great job as far as mitigating damage and using Syndergaard. He went 3 innings, 1 run. I mean, that's probably the best you can get from Noah Syndergaard this season. He's not been great. But if you can get 3 innings, 1 run from him, then you get 2-3 innings, 1 run from Falter. And like I said, offense is what is really driving this team. And if you can get 2-3 runs through 6-7 innings before you get into the bullpen with that Phillies offense and the way they're clicking right now, that's probably all you need. So it's just relying on 1 or 2 arms, like you mentioned. If Falter can go 3-4 innings, if Suarez can get 5-6 strong in that game 3, and so that they don't have to use all their bullpen arms, then they can kind of reassess game by game. But and obviously it's all crucial for Wheeler and Nola to throw as they've been throwing, which is, shutout ball. They're very untouchable right now.
Yeah, those guys have been absolutely amazing. As someone else who is amazing, Charlie Disturco, he is joining me on the podcast. Does great work over at Action Network. And like I said, as of right now, we just don't know if it's going to be the Dodgers or the Padres. It is a late game, so hard to pre-record that. But with that said, at the very best for the LA Dodgers, they're going to be in a game number 5 on Sunday at the very worst. As you're hearing this, they are currently eliminated from the postseason. And I mean, if we get Padres versus Phillies, that is going to be absolutely wild to be seeing the San Diego Padres hosting a series here in the National League playoffs. But that said, with the LA Dodgers, a 111-win team, a absolutely incredible regular season, one of the best regular seasons, I would say, in the history of baseball. But with the LA Dodgers, it feels like every single year when they get to the postseason, there are hiccups. They might be eliminated. They might be in a game 5, but what do you attribute just the Dodgers year in and year out when it comes to postseason, not necessarily living up to what they do during the regular season? Because I think this year it's a little bit more clear. Missing a guy like a Walker Buehler at the top, that certainly does hurt you. Clayton Kershaw being a little bit older, but it just feels like every year for the LA Dodgers, they're always the best team during the regular season, and time again, other than in 2020, they come up short here in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard. The postseason baseball is so hard to predict. And it's always, I mean, like you see right now, it's a 5-game series. The Mets, it was a 3-game series against San Diego. 101 wins means nothing when it's a 3-game series. So I think that there's always so much toss and turn, and everything's really up for grabs, and every game means so much. I think the Dodgers' biggest issue, like you said, as far as this season goes, is the fact that they don't have that Walker Buehler, that they have to rely on Tony Gonsolin, who was off for a month, returned at the tail end of the year to just make a start, and then you're throwing him right into the fire in the postseason on the road. And he's not a type of pitcher that you can rely on in that situation, despite how good he was in the regular season. And, I mean, we're talking about this right now before the game first pitch has even happened. You're throwing out Tyler Anderson in an elimination game. It is so difficult when you have pitchers that don't have the veteran experience, that don't have the stuff that some of the pitchers like a Joe Musgrove, a Yu Darvish, or like some of these guys have that San Diego is throwing out on a night-to-night basis. And that's why in a 5-game series, it's just a matter of timely hitting and great pitching. And right now the Dodgers, they don't have that Walker Buehler, so they're relying on their medium arms that have had and overperformed this season late in the postseason. But it's always hard in a 5-game series to really hope for everything to click, especially you couldn't have asked for a better situation for LA. They just couldn't hit the Padres bullpen, and they had multiple opportunities. And we're seeing outside of Trey Turner in game 1 and 2, and Freddie Freeman's been on and off, but the offense in general has just been so quiet, and timely hitting means everything. And the Dodgers are not doing that right now. It's postseason baseball, so 50-50, anything can happen. That's why it's one of the best playoffs in all of sports. And right now we're watching them not implode. I mean, it's just the Padres are overperforming,
Oh, absolutely. The Padres have been looking absolutely incredible. And for the Padres, you knew that the talent was there. It hadn't necessarily come together for the team. I attribute it to guys like Juan Soto, Brandon Drury, just having to acclimate to a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. And I do think that is something that gets under the radar, that does get tossed under the radar, and something that we don't talk about as much as well, because we see it in every sport. I'm a big college basketball guy. These teams that are full of transfers, they get thrown together. It takes them time to mesh. Heck, Team USA basketball took them time to mesh. You see it in the NFL all the time. You bring in a bunch of free agents. It doesn't necessarily work out for them. It feels like it's in every single sport. And for the Padres, it does feel like these guys have acclimated to their surroundings. And how much do you take a look at that? Because I do think that it's sort of like what we saw with the Atlanta Braves last year, where they picked up quite a few guys at the trade deadline. Now, it did come together for them right away, but you can tell that a lot of guys that were in a new place, they were able to click right away in October. And I do think that is something that needs to be taken into account with these teams, that they do go all in at the trade deadline like the San Diego Padres did.
Yeah, I think definitely you have to consider that when you're handicapping in general when it comes to futures, that you're going to get a production out of these guys. It's just a matter of when, not if. And we've seen Juan Soto last night played great, the double in the first, scored the run, and then 2 warning track flyouts. He's seeing the ball a lot better in this series come around. And guys that they've just been adding over time, it's all meshing together. But I think it's also a point of I keep going back to this, timely hitting. They're all clicking at the right time. And that is so hard to predict. And that's why baseball and postseason baseball in general, it's so important to just see what's going on, to see if a team's clicking, and then you start riding them, because we're seeing the Padres click against the Mets, and you just continue to ride them, and you'd be very profitable. We saw the Phillies. They started after game 1 against St. Louis, where they looked like they were dead in the water in that game. They come back. All of a sudden, they're a different beast. They have this rah-rah to them that everyone's getting behind and everyone's loving to see. It goes back and forth. I love the Padres as far as an underdog team, because we know they are talented. It was just a matter of if they could all put it together. They have the top 3 arms. It was just a matter of, can the bullpen back them up? Can the starting pitching? Joe Musgrove's been hit a bunch and hard. Darvish has given up a lot of barrels. Will they end up doing that in the postseason versus not? We've seen so far that they haven't. But I do think that you have to consider midseason additions and giving them time to click, and just looking from an outsider point of view of Juan Soto is going to be amazing. You know that some of these guys that they're picking up are going to be good. It's just, it hasn't hit yet. And now we're seeing them click and we're seeing them be as deadly a team as baseball. And, the field is so even. I mean, the 111 win Dodgers, right? Sure, they won 111 games, but any team can win any given night. And it comes down to management too. And we're seeing that the managers are making great decisions and some are losing games, like Aaron Boone losing that game with his overthinking of how many games they got to play in the next few days. Management also plays a role in it. And I think that a team that has a good manager, that loves their manager, and then when they click right, they're just a hard team to beat.
And I'm so glad that you bring that up as Charlie Disturco of Action Network joins me on the podcast, because as we're recording this, the Mariners and the Astros are in like their 52nd inning of baseball. So we are unsure if we're going to be getting a game 4 there. But the one game for sure as we record this that we know we're getting is Yankees versus Guardians, regardless of how the game for Saturday fares. That is going on as we record this. But I do take a look at the Guardians, and I would have to think that they're going to throw out their Cal Quantrill against Garrett Cole. If not, it would be a surprise, because that would be either Zach Plesac or Aaron Savali, which I don't think you want to be backing either of those guys. But with that said, it's going to be Garrett Cole is going to be going for the New York Yankees. And you just mentioned it with the New York Yankees. It's been a bullpen that all throughout the year, it's been relatively solid, but the Guardians' one main focal point and the one place where they are able to outgun New York, that is in the bullpen. And especially if you have starters not be able to go necessarily too deep in the game that we see on Saturday, I do think that the Guardians have a good chance to be able to seal this series. I would like to see them, like I said, go with Cal Quantrill rather than someone like Zach Plesac. But when it comes to Cleveland Guardians, I think that there is a good chance of being able to take down the Yankees, because they are the better managed team. And even though they don't necessarily have as much talent, they just are doing the little things that allows you to be able to win in October.
The BABIP Guardians, you just got BABIP'd, is like I like to say, because they do not strike out. They put the ball in play, and those bloop hits are deadly. I mean, this team is very well rounded as far as like they don't strike out. They put the ball in play. They're very reminiscent of Kansas City Royals in 2015. They're well managed. They got a great bullpen, and their starters are doing enough to keep them competitive. And as we saw 2 days ago, the Guardians bullpen is going to keep them competitive. And if it's a close game, eventually they're just going to slowly kill you. And that's what they did in game 2. And I'm interested to see how Francona does everything and how the Guardians really attack game 4. I'm not a huge fan of Cal Quantrill. I know all the trends of, they don't lose when Cal Quantrill starts and this and that. But he has some concerns when it comes to barrel rate and expected ERA. So I think that this game that, while we're talking right now, is going on is almost a must-win for them, because I don't really know if they're going to be able to beat Garrett Cole. We saw them get shut down in game 1, but and that being said, if it's 2-2 going into game 5, I think the Guardians have the edge, because Aaron Boone is a worse manager than Francona. And as we've talked about time and time and time again, they have the better bullpen. And in game 5, we'll most likely see the kitchen sink thrown. And we're almost reminiscent of the Yankees Rays back in the COVID year, where they started glass now, then they went to their pen and they just threw everything they could at the Yankees and just hope that everything clicked. And with the Yankees hitting right now, with them not performing well, and with Aaron Judge slumping, in a do or die, anything can happen game, especially with that bullpen edge, I kind of lean toward the Guardians there. I mean, we'll see what happens over the next couple of days, but if the Yankees lose game 3 here, and then game 4 they win behind Garrett Cole, I wouldn't be too confident if I was a Yankees fan as far as winning the entire series, because this Guardians team, there's something about them. I say the Voodoo Cardinals all the time. It's the Voodoo Guardians. They somehow, they don't barrel the ball. They don't have a hard hit rate, but they somehow put the ball in play and will never die. And that is what they're going to do, and they'll slowly just drain every team. They did it to the Rays, and they're slowly doing it to the Yankees right now.
And we've been seeing all these Guardians games going under, but if you do get Cole versus Quantrill, and we get another 6 to 6.5 like we've been seeing throughout the series, might not be the worst look on the over there as well, but we shall see, because, well, there's a lot up in the air when it comes to the postseason right now. But Charlie, I know you're doing a great job of deciphering all that. You do amazing work over there at Action Network. You're a 5-tool player for them, doing a great job filling in where needed in terms of all the football coverage, doing a great job on the baseball front as well. So let the good people at home know they're able to follow you on social media and everything they've got going on in general.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Charlie Disturco, Disturco. All my picks are logged in the Action Network app, same handle as my Twitter. So that's where you'll be finding me. I do same game parlays for the NFL this entire season. So basically just seeing what sticks and hoping they all click. But I bet everything on the side, and it's just taking into account how the game will play out. But yeah, I'll be doing baseball coverage throughout the rest of the postseason there, and I'll be talking baseball on my Twitter and everywhere else. So just let me know if you ever want to talk baseball. Always down.
And Charlie does a great job taking a look at the great game of baseball. He has joined me quite a bit, not just on this podcast, but also on the Greg Peterson Experience on VSiN. Always delivers great insights on both shows, and did so once again today. So big thanks to Charlie for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Sunday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to get Charlie Disturco aboard. He does great work over at Action Network, taking a look at the great game of baseball. And, well, we were thinking that there was a chance that the Dodgers would go down on Saturday, and sure enough, they did. So the NLCS is set, and that means that we've only got one game on the board for today in this MLB Sunday. So let's hit it right now as we touch them all, or in this case, we just touch it in general because there's only one.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter feed at Juniors41. I can tell you right now, any change that would be made, it would be due to a cataclysmic injury and or a pitching change with Cal Quantrill and Garrett Cole. And, well, it's easy to keep this in Las Vegas rotation order, but we've got a tradition of going in Las Vegas rotation order, so let's do it right here. 9-17, 9-18 on the betting board. The ALDS Game 4 between the Yankees. We're on the road, and they're facing off against the Cleveland Guardians, as Cal Quantrill is going to be getting the start for Cleveland, and Garrett Cole is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees are finding themselves anywhere between minus 168 and minus 173 favorites, and between plus 145 and plus 158. Number on Cleveland, 6.5 is the total. Over is at minus 125, and the under is at plus 105. And DK Nation pick, I oftentimes don't give out teams that are either big underdogs or rather sizable favorites, but we're making an exception here, and guess who we're doing it for? That's right, the one, the only, Cal Quantrill. Do recognize that the last start did not go his way, but in each out of the last 10 starts that he's made between the regular season and the postseason, he has allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in every one of them. I set the Guardians at a plus 132. I see a nice edge here with Quantrill all season long. He's been able to do a good job in terms of command, right around 2.5 to 2.6 walks per 9 innings. Certainly not going to be blowing anyone away, as his home runs per 9 rate, that is a little bit under 1 with his strikeout rate, a little bit above 6, but what Cal Quantrill has been able to do at home has been absolutely masterful, just being able to keep the ball in the yard in general, as he's done a much better job of being able to limit the damage when he has been at home rather than on the road, especially from an opponent's batting average perspective, as on the road opponents are right around a 282 off of him, more like a 234 at home. This is a Cleveland ballpark that is a little bit more pitcher friendly, and it's not going to be too warm in Cleveland here in the middle of October, so that is going to be able to help him out quite a bit. And Garrett Cole, he has had his issues giving up the deep ball on the road this season, giving up a little bit over 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, and I recognize his last start was good, but he has not been in good form. Over the course of his last 6 starts between the regular season and the postseason, 3+ runs allowed in 5 of them, having given up 10 home runs in this time span, and it really is a case in which he has been significantly worse when he has been on the road, as his home ERA, that is in the neighborhood about a 3.20, meanwhile it's a 3.81 on the road. For Cole, still has been able to do a solid job in terms of command, walks per 9 rate, that is about 2.2, while getting 11.5 punch-outs per 9 innings, and his strikeout number of 257 during the regular season, I believe that did lead the American League, but also led the American League in home runs surrendered. So you got both ways there, and for the Cleveland Guardians, they've got a distinct advantage in the bullpen. Best bullpen ERA in the American League since the All-Star break, and they did not use up James Karinchak nor Emmanuel Clase in the win that they had yesterday. So these two very solid 8th and 9th inning guys, they're going to be out there. They've been able to do a good job with Trevor Stephen being able to supply a sub-3 ERA there without Nick Sandlin in this series, but you still have guys like Enya de los Santos who has come up big in these recent spots as well. Not going to be able to go to same integers, but still a more rested bullpen than you got with the New York Yankees, who they had to use up Clark Schmidt and Wandy Peralta in the loss yesterday. Now, they are going to have Clay Holmes available, but he's been a little bit shaky, even though overall for the season, he and Lucas Luque right around a 2.7 to a 3-ish ERA. Jonathan the Wise guy's actually been halfway decent for this team as well. What are you going to be able to get out of Miguel Castro as well? And for the New York Yankees in the series, they're hitting just a $172. They've got the Mashers and Anthony Rizzo and Giancarlo Stanton. He combined 63 home runs between the two of them, and then obviously Aaron Judge. He's got his 62 home runs during the regular season as well, but you need guys that are able to move the line. Isaiah Canera-Falefa has been able to do a solid job. Overall for the season, it's hitting a little bit over 260. Gleyber Torres in the regular season, hitting about a 255, 24 home runs. He's actually done a solid job as well, but got a lot of guys coming up snake eyes, a little bit feast or famine. Josh Donaldson pimping that home run that turned out to be a single. That was not too terrific. And for the Guardians, fewest home runs at home of any team in the big leagues, but you've got so many guys who are able to get on bases during the regular season. Ahmed Rosario, Andres Jimenez, Oscar Gonzalez, who has been Mr. Hero the last few days, Steven Kwan, and Jose Ramirez. Hitting all at least a 280. You've had Ramirez already go yard once here in the postseason. He had 29 home runs, north of 120 RBI to be able to pace the team. I just feel like the Guardians are the better team. I think that they are going to be able to get to Mr. Garrett Cole in this spot, so the DK Nation pick is on the Guardians on the money line. Needed at least a plus 132. We are well past that. Did set my total at 7.1 as well. I do think that Quantrill going to give up a few runs. He's a bit more of a pitcher contact guy. I do think that the Yankees get the bats going a little bit more, so I'm willing to go on the over. I set my total at 7.1, so looking there, but the DK Nation pick that is on the Guardians money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to Charlie Disturco. He does great work over at Action Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you've got a question, comment, segment idea, want to have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at JNet_D1. Keep in mind, letters EM. Name does not matter as per usual. Please do send these into the timeline. The other way, that is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'll be coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, and that means I'm coming at you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.